Alright, what's going on, everybody? Today's price action is one of the strangest and most suspicious things we've seen around XRP in a long time, and I want to break down everything that's unfolding because the timing of all of this is way too perfect to ignore. But before we dive in, as always, if you're doing any leverage trading, my personal favorite platform for days of extreme volatility is Bitunix. Is very reliable and fast and built for exactly the kind of crazy swings we are watching right now. And yeah, I will leave the link in the description if you want to check it out. Now, let's get into what just happened. Bitwise officially launched their spot XRP ETF this morning at the time of the recording. It's trading under the ticker XRP, super clean, super easy to find, and this is exactly the kind of thing we've been waiting for. But literally within minutes of the ETF going live, XRP's chart suddenly printed this sharp drop on the 15-minute and 5-minute candles. XRP is trading around $2.03 right now, but earlier this morning it briefly dipped before snapping right back up. At the exact same time, Robinhood started showing these weird temporary price glitches, numbers flipping to zero, then suddenly updating again. So now that Bitwise's ETF is officially live, the XRP community has another regulated institutional grade entry point, and that is huge. They debuted this morning on NYSE Arca, and it means much bigger pools of capital can now gain exposure to XRP in a clean and traditional format. There is a live discussion later that featuring David, Matt, and Eleanor Tarrant, where they will be talking about the ETF launch, and that happens right after the White House press briefing. So think about that for a second. A new ETF launch, a press briefing, and new macro data all hitting the market in a matter of hours. No wonder that everything is moving so violently. Speaking of macro, yesterday's FOMC minutes gave a lot of people hope for a rate cut, but today's jobs data came in and pretty much killed that idea. The Fed staying on pause seems to be the most likely outcome, and the political pressure around this is building too. Donald Trump, for example, literally said he's tired of Jerome Powell's decisions and wants him gone, and added that if he can't fire Powell directly, he would fire the next person down the line. So whether he meant that literally or not, it basically shows that how much disagreement there is about monetary policy right now. All of this creates uncertainty, and markets hate uncertainty. So he literally called it a monster move. So on one hand, you have fear, you have volatility, sell-offs, liquidations. On the other hand, you have analysts who have been right many times before saying the setup for a huge rally is forming. This is exactly the kind of environment where manipulation thrives. Prices get pushed down just enough so smart money can step in, and over the last couple of days, we've watched brutal liquidation cascades, sudden fake pumps, rug pulls, flash dumps, the entire menu. And it's happening even with incredible news hitting the market. Normally, ETF launches cause excitement, as you probably know, but this time the market reaction is muted or even negative. That tells you that everything about the intentions of big players right now. And here's something else that's happening in the background, which is that many analysts, including the people at Bitwise themselves, are now shifting their predictions from late 2025 into 2026. Nobody wants to call for an early breakout and be wrong, especially in a shaky regulatory environment like this. So the Market Structure Clarity Act is still in limbo. Everyone is waiting to see what the next Congress will do, and we are only 20 days away from the next FOMC meeting, which could be another major trigger depending on what Powell says. That uncertainty is why people are pushing their timelines out. And meanwhile, we now officially have multiple XRP ETFs operating. Bitwise is the newest, Amplify has their product, Volatility Shares has one, Osprey has one, more are launching soon, and Robinhood finally updated its pricing for the new ETFs after a long delay. And it's wild to think that we spent over a year waiting for this moment, and now the launches are stacking up one after another. And XRP is still gravitating toward the $2 level unless ETF inflows or macro news push it higher. But even with that pressure, the underlying structure hints that when things finally flip, they could flip hard. And we waited so long for XRP ETFs to exist, and now they're finally here. So right now, the most important thing is to stay focused. The market is giving mixed signals, I know. Price swings are really intense and people are panicking, but the fundamentals have never looked stronger. So this is definitely a period where retail usually gets shaken up while institutions use volatility to stack up positions. And once those inflows begin to ramp up consistently over the next few weeks, we could finally see price react the way that people expected. I will keep watching everything as it develops. So yeah, I will let you know. Thank you all for being here, for supporting the channel, and for staying level-headed through the chaos. I will see you in the next video.